Okay, so that leads me actually to my next question, which perhaps Professor Ells and Ms. Baxter and perhaps even Dr. Smith might respond to, and that has to do with the referral process itself and the transfer, which everybody's talked about. But I'd like to have some explanation about how you see that working. So, for example, when the British Columbia Civil Liberties Association were here yesterday, they said the solution they would propose is that physicians should have to notify some third-party body, whether it's the hospital or the health authority, of their refusal not to provide an effective referral, but simply notify with the permission of a patient that they do not want to carry out this service, and in that way there can be a transfer of care for the patient, which is what happens in Quebec right now. But how would that work? Is it left to the provinces? Is it the professional regulatory bodies that are going to make some kind of systematized approach to this? Is this something that should be in the federal framework? How do you see that happening? And maybe I could start with Dr. Baxter. Sorry, Dr. Smith. I'm sorry.
Well, if you look at how referrals are made now, it does not involve any formalized bodies in any of the provinces. Family doctors make referrals to surgeons, psychiatrists, and so on, and it's all pretty informal. So if you want a system put in place, there's nothing to build on currently. I suspect that what's going to happen is that there will be consumer groups spring up, and I know my organization is interested in helping doctors who are interested in this form organizations so that it may become well known which doctors are going to be involved and which ones aren't, which is the model used for most abortion services in Canada currently. I would be reluctant to institutionalize a referral system, but on the other hand, we have to make sure that it's the patient's principles of autonomy and their needs that are put at the forefront, not what institutions and doctors may wish to do. So we need to have some public way of getting referrals from doctors who do not wish to participate, so that patients' care is continuous and that people don't get dropped, because this is a critical stage in their life. This is not the stage in your life when you want to be digging around trying to find a new family doctor. So there needs to be some thought given to how that's going to be operationalized, and I don't have a ready solution for you, I'm afraid, at this point.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, because that's exactly the reason for the question, is the point you just made, and that is that we need to think about the patient. It needs to be patient-centered. So we need to ensure access when a physician decides
I'm very much in favor of standards. I think there should be rules that there must be a smooth transfer of service from doctors who do not wish to participate to those who will, and that's a heavy burden to put on doctors who object, but it's important because these are vulnerable people at the end of their life who must not be left dangling because their doctor does not want to provide this service to them. So principles, yes. Specific regulations, I don't know.
I just wanted to respond to that. We have issues about transferring from one setting of care in this country. It's terrible. Getting from acute care into long-term care, home care, and getting out of hospital into home care. We don't want that to happen at this stage. So what we'll need to do is make sure that the onus to refer is on that person and the physician or whoever, and that they follow through, and they follow through in a timely manner. I talked to the woman who runs the hospice program in Oregon, and they're 16 years in, so they've worked out a lot of their issues. And even though the administration of the medication is patient and family administered, there is a physician there and there is a pharmacist that has to prescribe and whatnot. And what they've done is the hospice program says their goodbyes to the patient and the family, and then a group like Dying for Dignity, that's a state-run organization, comes in and actually does the thing. So I'm listening to what Derek is talking about. I think we need to make sure that we have some safeguards or some organization that we can quickly go to and count on to be able to help us with the referrals.
Can I ask Professor Ells just to comment briefly on that?
Referrals or transfers take place at two different levels. One is between physicians, the attending physician for the patient, and another may take place between institutions. The between physicians is not so problematic, other than requiring the transfer firmly. timely and fairly, that's already in their codes of ethics. That's already in place. But institutions should be required to know who is available in their institution to provide these things. Institutions who may make conscientious objections.
But it seems just in
Should have a-
it seems to I don't understand how I can understand how an individual can have a conscientious, but how does a building have a conscientious objection? How does it have an ethical?
It's not quite as comfortable, but most of these hospital institutions, like many institutions, have missions, visions, value statements, and their values ought to drive, if they're an ethical, robust organization, their values ought to drive the strategic plan and how they roll out their policies, how they provide their services. I'm aware of, for instance, a particular small Catholic hospital that opened up a large palliative care unit in Quebec, poor timing, and then had to struggle with, do we eliminate this important service for the people in our community or not, because of their own conscientious
Thank you, Dr. Ellis.
view.